Parshat VAYISHLACH. We get to start a new Torah portion this week. But to be honest, I didn't know what Parsha it was this morning because I saw the news that Bob McGrath had died. And some of us know who Bob was. I'm assuming many of us do, certainly of a certain age and older. Bob was our friend on Sesame Street, and he sang and sang and sang and laughed. And his most famous song, at least in my heart, is "Who Are the People in Your Neighborhood?" And I suddenly miss him very much. So I want to dedicate this Torah this morning to our friend, to our neighbor, Bob, who gave countless children around the world incredible sweetness and simplicity. And I wonder if we could maybe redouble our efforts to give our children as much simplicity in their lives as we possibly can. So may his memory be for a blessing, and let's learn a little bit of Torah in his honor. So in Parshat VAYISHLACH, there is our hero Jacob, and he has struggled mightily, and he has emerged from one scathing moment to another, and he still doesn't really know himself, and we're going to see an incredible moment of emergence in his life when he wrestles with an angel. VAYISHLACH also includes a moment of re-encounter between Jacob and Esau, brothers who have been estranged. We will see the story of Dinah, which we will explore later this week. But there's one specific part of this week's parsha that I wanted to look at with you today. When Jacob is afraid that Esau is coming close, and the last time they saw each other, Jacob stole the birthright from Esau, and now Esau has an army, 400 fighting people with him, an army. And Jacob is afraid, so he divides up the camp, thinking, God forbid some of us lose our lives, the rest of us will continue. It's really tragic beyond belief, except we know that those kinds of hard, terrible, impossible decisions have been faced by peoples throughout history, certainly in Jewish history and certainly beyond. And he then crosses the Abok River one more time himself and stays all alone. And even though the text says that he is alone, Yaakov levado, Jacob all alone, he wrestles with a man. Tradition tells us that the man might have been an angel, might have been the avatar of his brother Esau, might actually have been himself. But they wrestle throughout the night, and then the angel says, let me go, because dawn was coming. And I want to read you one translation here. The angel said, let me go, for dawn is breaking. Jacob replied, I will not let you go until you bless me. And the man said to him, what is your name? He answered, Jacob. And the man said, or the angel said, or Jacob said, no longer will your name be Jacob, but Israel, because you have fought with God and with people and have prevailed. You've wrestled with God and with men. Now, what's interesting is that immediately afterwards, Jacob then says to the angel, what's your name? And the angel says, you must not know my name, and disappears. And then Jacob, or Israel, emerges with a limp and walks for the rest of his life. And the truth is, in these moments of becoming where we face self and the other, sometimes we are changed by that. Sometimes it's wounds that we carry from the experience. Sometimes it's sweet, actually. And so I didn't want to go deep and quote some deep midrash on this. What I wanted to do was say, in this moment of coming to know each other, Jacob is then able to transform and become something even better, even stronger, even if it costs him something to know his neighbor. And I was reflecting on that because primary in my heart was actually not the Parsha this morning, when I saw that my friend Bob, with whom I spent countless childhood hours, learning from him, being enchanted by him, I realized that he was asking one central question, which I thought of as a childhood message, but maybe it's actually the message we need more and more and more. When he asked us, who are the people in your neighborhood, and introduced us to grocery store workers and doctors and nurses and rabbis. He was saying, do you know who your neighbors are? Which ultimately is a real question. And I think about our world today. Do you actually know your neighbors? And I'm asking us, who are your neighbors? Who are the people in your neighborhood? Because of course, learning who your neighbor is the first step towards loving them like yourself. So I want to ask us, in the spirit of this wrestling match that we see our ancestor Jacob going through, holding on for dear life, he ultimately only has one question. Will you bless me? And the source of blessing says back, what is your name? Who are you? How can I be a blessing to you if I don't yet know your name? And then Jacob wants to return that blessing. And the way to do so is to say, well, what is your name? So I want to invite us, friends. I really want to invite us. Would you be brave today? Would you simply be a neighbor today? If you don't know your neighbor, would you write a note and just put it by their door saying, hi, I'm your neighbor. We don't know each other yet. It'd be nice to go out for coffee. If you do know your neighbor, go check in on them. And if that requires too much, because for some of us, even in these days as we are emerging, please God, from the pandemic, maybe you can just reach out to somebody and say, thought I'd check in on you. How are you today? So I want to sing our way into a good day. I've never played it before. I looked up the chords a second ago. So wish me luck. But this is a good way to go into the day. Oh, who are the people in your neighborhood? In your neighborhood, in your neighborhood. Oh, who are the people in your neighborhood? They're the people that you meet each day. May the memory of Bob McGrath be for a blessing. See you guys tomorrow. Have a really good day, my neighbors.